What is up, guys? It is Robert at Gaming with Me, and welcome to a video talking about console code names. And I think it's an interesting topic that I don't hear brought up a lot, that before we know the official title of these consoles, well, we always hear these little code names and stuff that sometimes I feel sound even better than the actual name itself. And I kind of wanted to run down some of these, that some quick ones and some I wanted to actually talk about, and kind of go through and see which one's actually the better name, the actual original code name or the one that released, the one that the company gave them. I thought we'd play a little game, kind of see which one sounds better, whether it be the code names or the actual names, and I'll kind of give them a point. If they're ties, if I think they're the same, I'll give them both a point. But let's have some fun. Let me know your actual points if you want to join in, or you just want to comment on some of them. Let me know. Obviously, these are all test names. It's not like they were even going to be official anyway. But I still feel like some of these sound better. First, let's start with some of the Xbox boys. So the Xbox One was originally the codename Durango. Xbox Durango sounds way better than Xbox One in my opinion, just because Xbox One isn't the Xbox One. That's the Xbox. The Xbox. That's the Xbox One. So Xbox Durango, I would take that. The Kinect. So Project Natal was it used to be, and I think that sounds badass, man. The Project Natal over the Kinect. I actually don't mind the Kinect name, like Kinect, but I think Project Natal sounds badass, bro. That sounds pretty badass. The Xbox Natal, even that, I'd take that over the Xbox One if they switched that. The Xbox 360 was codenamed Xenon. So the Xbox Xenon instead of Xbox 360, I really like the 360. I think it rolls off the tongue, and that's why I thought they were gonna do the Xbox 720. That was kind of the rumor name. I wouldn't have mind that. But the Xbox Xenon sounds pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. Again, if it was over the Xbox One, Xbox Xenon, I'll take it. I'll take the 360 over the Xenon, to be honest, to keep that. The Xbox One X or the Project Scorpio, if you remember, where they would call the Project Scorpio. Project Scorpio sounds so much better than Xbox One X. What kind of name is that, dude? What kind of name is that shit? So yeah, I think definitely it should be the Xbox One Scorpio. That would be so much more badass than the Xbox One X. Nah, Xbox One X. I mean, shit. Xbox One Scorpio. That sounds a lot better. Or even, again, the Xbox Scorpio. I take that. I think that sounds better than Xbox One X. So, codename wins that one. The Xbox Series X or the Project Scarlet. I think for sure it should be called the Xbox Scarlet, not the Xbox Series X. Come on, man. Like, I just can't believe they named it that. I think it sounds so bad. The Xbox Series X sounds so much like the Xbox One X. I'm guessing it's going to be a series, so it's going to be different names, but we'll see how they do that. But I think they should be called the Xbox Scarlet. I think the next one should be called the Xbox Scarlet. So I give a point to the damn code name. Then let's move on to Sega. Actually, I got like one Sega one, which is the Sega Saturn was originally called the Jupiter. So the Sega Jupiter. Sega Saturn sounds so much better because Sega Saturn, it literally rolls off the tongue. Sega Saturn. So that alliteration or is it assonance? I think it's alliteration. Sounds a lot better than Sega Jupiter, especially because I was looking up, all of them are just planets. You know what I mean? Sega Saturn, that sounds better. So I give that to the actual. Move on to Sony, and Sony had for the original PlayStation was PSX. I mean, it's not really much of a difference. I'd probably just give it to PlayStation, to be honest. But the PlayStation X sounds pretty badass. And I know they're probably going to call the PS10 the PlayStation X. But still, why wait till then? Just call it the PSX. One of these. I know that's technically what they would call the PlayStation original. But, you know what? I think I'll give it to the original, obviously. But for later on, definitely call it your PlayStation X soon. I had the PS4 one here, which is codenamed the Orbis. PlayStation Orbis. I mean, come on, man. Like, we gotta stop naming PS5, PS6, PS7. Like, stop that shit, dude. Change the fucking name, dude. PlayStation Orbis. I would not mind that. PlayStation Orbis. I'm down with that. In fact, because of that, in spite of that, even though I don't think the PS4 sounds bad, I mean, it rolls off the tongue. PS Orbis. I'd rather take the Orbis. I'm giving that to the Codename. The PlayStation Move is codenamed Arc. PlayStation Arc. Nah, I think the PlayStation Move actually sounds better. It literally tells what it is, you know, the Move. I mean, that works better. So I'm gonna give it to the PlayStation Move, to be honest. You got the PS4 Pro, which was, if you remember the Neo. PlayStation Neo, because it would be PS4 Neo, essentially, is what they're saying. I would gotta give it to the Pro. But again, PlayStation Neo, PS Neo, just the Neo. I mean, that sounds Sony Neo. You know, I'm down with them kind of incorporating that into the PS name one day. But you know, they want to go, you know, the number wise. But for this one specifically, because it's just an add-on to like the actual PlayStation, I'd say the PS4 Pro. I'd give them the point. And the last I have on the list that sounded kind of interesting was the PSVR, which is the Morpheus, if you remember that, the Morpheus. And that sounds fucking badass, dude. I get, you know, PSVR, they just call it that. But what about, you got the Oculus, the HTC Vive. It sounds, they don't have it in the name. They don't say HTC Vive VR. They don't say Oculus VR. I'm pretty sure it's Oculus. So that's why I like the Oculus Rift. Yeah, so no, yeah, yes. Name it PlayStation Morpheus, man. Fuck off with the PSVR. PS Morpheus, yo. The Morpheus. That's it. The Morpheus. You got that's your VR add-on. But whatever. I give it the code name. And next we move on to Nintendo, which has some cool ones. So the 3DS was originally called the code name was Citra. I gotta give it to the 3DS though. It makes more sense. It says what it is. What it is. You know, it's the 3DS. I gotta give it to that, to be honest. I don't really. Yeah, original. Yeah, I mean, the actual. If we talk about the Nintendo DS, which was codenamed Nitro. That's a pretty badass name. Not gonna, the Nintendo Nitro, I mean, it literally rolls off the tongue, the Nintendo Nitro. But the DS literally means dual screens. That's what, it's a home name, you know, like that is a brand name. That literally says what it is. And I gotta give it to the DS, to be honest, not the codename, to be honest. Then the Wii U was a Project Cafe. You can't have something called Nintendo Cafe. That just doesn't work. You can't. So I mean, I'd have to give it. Even though the Wii U really isn't, I don't think it's a bad name, just because I've heard it so many times. But in all reality, it is a bad name. But it's also not a bad name. I'm gonna have to give it to the Wii U. Can't really call it Nintendo Cafe. I mean, no, it doesn't work at all. The Wii U, even though that doesn't really help at all, but I'll have to hand it to the Wii U on that one. The Nintendo 64, I have it written down as Project Reality or the Ultra 64. I guess it, you know, went to a few different things. Let's just talk about the Reality, because Ultra 64, I mean, Nintendo Ultra 64 is Nintendo 64, but we talk about between Reality and the 64. Nintendo Reality, I think that's fine, actually. I think, yeah, the 64 sounds, you know, honestly, I don't really think 64 is a great name. All it is just the amount of bits, you know, all that type of shit. So the graphics wise, so I think Reality sounds better, to be honest. The Nintendo Reality, a Super Mario Reality, obviously would have Super Mario 64. Who knows what the name would have been? There's no way you would have had Mario Kart Reality, GoldenEye Reality, all those type of names. Like, there's no way they would have actually kept 64 in the name. So it's pretty interesting. So I'd actually give that to the codename, actually. I'm gonna have to go with that, the Nintendo Reality. The Game Boy Advance with the Atlantis. That's a pretty badass name, yo. Game Boy Atlantis. I know Game Boy Advance makes more sense because, you know, it is what it is. It's just a little boost. To be fair, that's a totally different, I mean, console though. So you know what? I'm actually have to give that to the Game Boy Atlantis, maybe. Game Boy Atlantis or Game Boy Advance? Nah, I'm Game Boy Advance. To be honest, I'm gonna give it to Game Boy Advance, because to be honest, it just, as much as I like Atlantis as a name, nah, I think you have to go with the Advance, because it sounds like a sequel, I guess you could say. Yeah, I'll give it to the Advance. Oh fuck, I don't know. And then the most recent, the Switch. Obviously, come on, you know what this is, the Nintendo NX. Everyone was screaming out the damn thing, Nintendo NX. That's because the NX probably stood for Nintendo X, like Nintendo Cross, because it was like a Switch. It was like the handheld hybrid thing. And the Switch obviously is literally what it does. It's another one of those consoles. Nintendo likes to obviously name it those, and that makes sense. But man, the NX sounds so badass. It still sounds. You playing an NX? You playing the NX? Oh shit, the NX, the Nintendo NX. And I would not mind if Nintendo went back and actually named one of their consoles that, the Nintendo NX. But Switch, like, it just rolls off the tongue. Although even when you think about it, it's like Switch is just a word. The Switch. What are you playing? What are you gonna create something? You're calling it a Switch? Like, when you think about it, like, it only works because you're switching out the things. But as a name, if you're just randomly naming a console and you're naming it Switch, people would look at you and be like, what the fuck do you mean? That's a word, bro. That's just a word. And the NX sounds pretty console-ish, sounds pretty badass. So, I mean, maybe the NX, but I'll have to give it to the Switch because it is what it is. That's literally what it does. So I'll have to give it to the Switch for right now. But you could kind of go with and say the Nintendo Cross, but I don't think that's not everyone would get that. The GameCube, the Dolphin. So the Nintendo Dolphin. Yeah, it's just like the Switch. You can't just name it a word. This is like a genuine thing. Like, how's the GameCube a dolphin? You know what I'm saying? And the GameCube is literally, it plays games and it's a cube. And I think the GameCube just is such a great title. I'm gonna have to give it to that. But like the Nintendo Dolphin, you can. The Nintendo Dolphin, like, the fuck is that? So I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd have to give it to the actual name. The last one I want to talk about is the Wii, which is the Revolution. This is a pretty tough one because the Wii, I love the name now, but if you told me, like, would you rather be called Nintendo Revolution or Nintendo Wii, I'd probably say the Revolution. I think the Revolution is such a badass name, and it is a revolution. That was a fucking revolution, you know, the Wii. And so it's tough because the Wii is obviously iconic. It's easy to say. It's easy to remember Wii, W-I-I. It's easy, you know. And I'm sure in the beginning there was a lot of discussions. How do you spell Wii? Is it W-E? And no, it's W-I-I. What do you mean W-I-I? What does that stand for? What does that mean? And a lot of them said the I meant like the Wii remote, stuff like that. And like Wii, because we're together, you know, we're playing. I get it. But I think I gotta go with the code name, the Nintendo Revolution. The Revolution. I think it's so badass, that name, but also the Wii is pretty badass too. I don't know. It's tough. That's because it's been how many years with the Wii? Like 14 years. Of course, I'm gonna like the name by now. But the Revolution's a really solid one. But I'll give it to the Revolution. I'll give it to the codename. Yeah. So I wasn't keeping track on how many. I probably should have kept track at my own numbers. I'll find out when I'm actually editing it. But that's who won. I don't know. It's not really who wins, who loses. But it is kind of interesting to kind of debate on, well, what do you think is better, the code names or the actual names that they came out with? And I quite like that. I think it was kind of fun to just go list these down and just kind of see them. There's obviously so much more, but I wanted to just talk about these. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you like? Which ones do you like better? Which code names do you like better? Which actual names do you like better? Let me know in the comments below. I thought it'd be a fun little video to make. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you didn't know I'm making music, always check that out. It's always in the link below. I would really appreciate it. Go check out the recent Back of the Backlog if you haven't seen that. Also, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. And I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate it. I love you. And, yeah. My code name was Wii in 360 with me. Yeah. Alright, peace.
More and more often I feel like I need help. I feel claustrophobic in the cell and I have no hope for opening it. Now who do I tell? Spill my feelings and often I feel awful at the end. My conscience is constantly pressing my confidence. Without him, should it be in the coffin? Cause life is too daunting to try that I hide. But being buried alive, I try to crawl out of my mind. I wait for the temptations, quickly losing my